why don't you talk to your parents anymore? I was grounded from the time I was 8 until I moved out at 18. My stepmom always found a reason to extend it, like leaving my shoes by the door or forgetting to dust a shelf. It became normal that I wasn't allowed to do anything, and my dad never stood up for me. Grounding wasn't just losing TV or games, it was everything. No tech, no going outside, no talking to my sister, no staying up past 8 p.m. Even during the summer at 17, she even took my alarm clock when she caught me listening to the radio. I'd sit in my room, staring at the ceiling, wondering why she hated me so much. My mom died when I was 5. My stepmom showed up the next year and married my dad when I was 7. She loved my little sister, who was too young to remember our mom. But me, she made it clear I was just a burden. My grades slipped, and she used that as an excuse to keep me grounded all year. The worst was when I was 14. I ate a couple of stevia packets from the fridge and lied about it. She found out, and my punishment? Writing, "I will not lie, I will not steal. God hates a thief," 10,000 times. She set her belt on my doorknob as a warning. That image still sticks with me. The only light I had was my grandparents, my mom's parents. They weren't wealthy, but they loved me fiercely. I'd spend weekends with them, where they'd spoil me with kindness and remind me what love is supposed to feel like. Without them, I don't know who I'd be today. I haven't spoken to my dad or stepmom since I left. I found family in my grandparents, and that's enough for me.
What is the most unusual and incorrect reason you've had the police called on you? My girlfriend and I got a hotel room one night to spend some time together. We were both in college, living at home with our parents, so privacy was rare. We ordered takeout, put on a movie, and hung out. Just a quiet night, or so we thought. Halfway through the movie, there was a loud knock at the door. I answered, and there were 5 cops, hands ready at their belts. "Sir, we need to come in," one said. "We've received a report about suspicious activity in this room. Apparently, someone called saying we were planning a robbery, had kidnapped a child, and were holding him hostage. Oh, and we supposedly had a stash of weapons." It sounded like something straight out of a movie, which funny enough it was. The cops weren't in the mood to joke. They searched the room, checking closets, drawers, and even under the bed while we stood there, completely stunned. Of course, they found nothing. No kid, no weapons, just takeout and the laptop playing the movie. The plot, a couple robbing a place, kidnapping a kid, and hiding in a hotel with stolen money and guns. The exact story the neighbors overheard through the wall. When the cops realized, they actually laughed. They apologized for the mix-up and headed to the neighbor's room to chew them out for wasting time. After they left, we couldn't stop laughing. My classmate stole my work, so I embarrassed him in front of the whole class. I've always been the quiet, smart kid, the one who sits in the back of the class and keeps to himself. College was no different. I didn't have many friends, and honestly I was fine with that. But the night before a big presentation, something strange happened. One of the popular guys in class, someone who'd never even looked at me, messaged me. He asked if I wanted to hang out. It felt off, but I figured why not? He brought me to a party, and before I knew it, I was drinking for the first time. I woke up back in my dorm feeling awful. I thought it was weird he'd gone out of his way to help me, but I didn't dwell on it. The presentation was that morning. When I got to class, the teacher called on him to present first. At first I wasn't paying attention. Then I looked up and froze. He was presenting my work. Slide by slide, everything I'd spent weeks on was right there. My name wasn't even on it. I waited until the teacher asked, "Any questions for the presenter?" I raised my hand. He smiled, thinking I'd make him look good. "Explain it," I said. He blinked. "Explain what?" "Everything on this slide," I replied. The teacher asked me to be specific, so I started asking about the research and data, things only someone who did the work would know. It fell apart fast. By the end, everyone knew he hadn't done any of it. After class, I showed the teacher my drafts. She didn't need much convincing. He got a strike on his record, and I got an A.
What patient came in such a horrific state you hoped they would pass away? A teenage girl was napping one afternoon when a reckless driver crashed into her house. Her dad, who was in the kitchen, died on impact. The crash caused an electrical fire that ignited a gas line, engulfing the house in flames. She managed to escape with her younger sister, but ran back inside to save her dad and the family dogs. She never made it back out on her own. The fire department pulled her out, barely alive. 95% of her body was covered and burned. Her lungs were damaged from smoke inhalation, and she had carbon monoxide and cyanide poisoning. When she arrived at the hospital, we didn't know how she was still alive. Her burns were mostly 3rd degree, which meant no feeling, but the 2nd degree burns caused unimaginable pain. The only untouched skin was a small patch on her thighs. Her face, eyelids, and lips gone. We started treatment, antibiotics, dressings, and debridement, scraping away dead skin to help healing. The infection hit hard within days. Fungus burrowed into her wounds, leaving deep holes we had to clean out. I'll never forget scraping around her fingertip, only for it to come off completely. Every day felt like a losing battle. We thought the same thing, but never said it aloud. No one should have to survive this, but she did. After months of pain, surgeries, and therapy, she left the hospital. Last I heard, she's studying to become a
What is not a fun fact? 1. Your lungs have a scent, but your brain filters it out so you don't notice. 2. The youngest person to ever give birth was a 5-year-old girl. 3. During World War I, thousands of family dogs were taken for the war effort. When the war ended, most were shot because it was cheaper than feeding them or sending them back to their homes. 4. Horses can't vomit. If they eat something bad or get a severe gas bubble, they often just lie down and die. 5. In ancient Rome, urine was used for teeth whitening and bleaching clothes. Yes, people rinse their mouths with human and animal urine. 6. Holocaust survivors who develop Alzheimer's sometimes believe they are back in the camps, reliving one of humanity's greatest horrors as they pass away decades later. 7. There's a genetic condition called FOP, or human statue disease, where muscles and tissue turn to bone. People with this disease may eventually have to choose whether they want to be frozen in a sitting, standing, or lying position. 8. The young girl who voiced Ducky in The Land Before Time was tragically murdered by her father before the movie's release. Her gravestone bears her famous line, "Yep, yep, yep."
My freeloading Freeloading friends tried finessing me in their dinner bill, but I got my portion split before it came to the table. I got invited to a group dinner and decided to go. Normally, I'd avoid it like the plague because two couples in the group were notorious freeloaders. They'd order the most expensive items, stack up cocktails and appetizers, and then insist we split it evenly when the check came. Meanwhile, I'd be sitting there with a single meal and a soda, getting screwed over every time. The only reason I agreed to go this time was because I was assured they wouldn't be there. But of course, surprise, surprise, they showed up. I wasn't about to cause a scene over it, but I knew exactly how this was going to play out, so I decided to get ahead of it. Halfway through dinner, I excused myself, found our server, and asked him to separate my bill before anything else came to the table. He agreed without hesitation. When the check finally arrived, I casually handed over my card and paid for my portion, leaving a solid 25% tip. That's when one of the freeloaders, looking genuinely offended, spoke up. "Oh, I thought we were splitting it like usual." I just shrugged. "Oh well, that's your bad." That's when two other people in the group suddenly decided they wanted their bills separated too. The freeloaders started panicking, realizing their usual scam wasn't going to work this time. They ended up stuck with their ridiculous bill, scrambling to split it between themselves. The tension at the table was thick, but I just sat back, sipping my soda, enjoying the best meal I'd ever had.
They thought I naturally smelled like vanilla. I grew up in rural Japan, where my classmates had never seen a white person before. Wanting to make a good impression, I bought vanilla perfume and wore it every day. My classmates were obsessed with it, constantly saying I smelled amazing. Some even told me they wished they could smell like me, but when I suggested they buy the same perfume, they'd laugh like I was joking. I never thought much of it, until one day, I ran out of perfume. At lunch, my friend leaned in and asked, "Why don't you smell like vanilla today?" I groaned, explaining I had to take a 2-hour bus ride just to buy more. Then she hit me with the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. "Wait, you wear perfume?" I blinked, confused. Yeah, that's why I smell like vanilla." She nodded slowly. "Right, but I always thought that's just because you're white." I stared, waiting for her to laugh, but she didn't. Turns out my classmates genuinely believed white people naturally smelled like vanilla. My brain completely shut down. I spent the rest of the day wondering, did they think foreigners came with built-in air freshener?
What was the most expensive thing you ever got for free because someone made a mistake and didn't charge you? A friend of mine went on a 2-week cruise for his 15-year anniversary. Everything was perfect until he came home and found his house halfway through a full remodel. The front door was gone, the floors were ripped up, and his kitchen was barely more than a skeleton of exposed pipes and wires. Workers were everywhere, installing cabinets, tiling a brand new bathroom, even roofing the house. "What the hell is going on?" he asked one of the workers, completely stunned. The guy shrugged. "Full renovation, foreclosure project, we're almost done." That's when reality hit. He didn't sell his house. He never missed a mortgage payment. Something was seriously wrong. The contractor handed him the paperwork, smirking like it was all just a minor inconvenience. My friend skimmed the document and nearly laughed out loud. "This says 214 Oak Street," he said, pointing to the address. "This is 241 Oak Street." The contractor turned pale. He bolted to the curb, checked the house number, then frantically looked at the actual foreclosure. 3 houses down, boarded up and overgrown with weeds. Silence. Then, "I gotta make a call." When the dust settled, my friend got a fully renovated home, exactly how he would have wanted it. New floors, modern kitchen, fresh roof. The real estate company responsible had to pay for all the damages and even replace the furniture that got trashed during demolition. Basically, he got a brand new house for free. Best mistake ever.
My girlfriend cheated on me, so I let her entire family watch. I knew she was cheating, the late nights at work, but her coworkers swore she left hours ago. The way she'd laugh while texting, always saying it was just her mom. Then she left to buy milk at 11:30 p.m. and didn't come home until 2 a.m. That was it. I hired a private investigator. It didn't take long. He got everything. Pictures, messages, proof. I didn't confront her. I waited. I made plans, found a new place to live, and gathered everything I needed. Then came her birthday. She told me to go out of town since she had to work. I knew exactly why. Instead, I stayed at a friend's house and called her parents, sister, and closest friends. I told them I had a big surprise planned and wanted them all there to celebrate. Balloons, cake, kazoos, the whole thing. At 8:30 a.m. we all met outside her apartment. Her mom held the cake, smiling. We tiptoed in, down the hall, kazoos in hand. I flung open the bedroom door and yelled, "Surprise!" And there she was, bent over, mid-thrust, staring at all of us, frozen in place. The cake hit the floor. Her sister screamed. Her father started shouting. The guy scrambled for his pants while she just sobbed, yelling, "How could you?" Like I was the one who did something wrong. I just stood there and watched. Best birthday gift I've ever given. A week later, the divorce was finalized.